So, MegoLike geeks and freaks and fellow action figures and old toy collectors. So, there's not going to be any music or Mr. Rogers opening today because I'm doing this from my phone. It became a little more flexible, and maybe I'll just do some video editing later. I just hadn't a chance to do it. All right, so we're going to get into this pretty quickly. This is Kenner Steve Scout. Some of you may be familiar with him, some of you may not. Steve Scout, he very cool figure. He was an official Boy Scout recognized product. They actually made the uniform, the insignias, everything was official Boy Scout approved. Steve Scout, he's over 9 inches tall. He gives a Scout salute automatically when you raise his left arm. Now, most people don't know this. Most people never read the box, and by the time you get one, not half the time you don't have the box. But this arm here, this hand is actually doing the Scout salute. If you know that, if you're a Boy Scout, you should know. And then when you raise and lower his left arm, it'll make his right arm go up and down. Like I said, most people don't know that. Steve Scout and some of the other figures, they came boxed in a solid box. They also came, and this one's pretty badly damaged, but they also came in a Windows box. The Windows box is much harder to get. This is Dave Cub Scout. He is one of 2 Cub Scouts. There's Craig Scout, and there's also Dave Cub, and of course we have Steve Scout and his little friend there, Bob Scout. And they basically, what's up? Brian Sanchez, the Sancharoni, the Sanchimahini, the Sancharuski, the Sancharonsky, the Sanchonsky, the Sanchezamano over there. So we have Bob Scout as well. They have some of these sets on the back. And I went into this a little bit before on some of these figures that the initial Boy Scout sets that they put out were pretty much stuff that a Boy Scout could really do. And then it started getting a little bit out of control there. Sorry about the camera shaking. A little bit out of control. So first sets with things like this. Warning from Thunderhead Station. It came with basically lots of accessories and so on. It is an official Scout adventure made by Kenner. Everybody knows Kenner, which was owned by General Mills at the time. The accessories you would get on the back. Important about all these boxes, all the Steve Scout figures, they had a number of stars based on what product you bought, and probably the more expensive was, the more stars you get. But the idea was you would collect these stars, then you could send them in for free stuff. And that's kind of what we're going to go in today. Ah, Brian, you stuck a dagger in me heart, boy. How dare you? So, Brian Sanchez, ladies and gentlemen. So, Warning from Thunderhead Weather Station. It's pretty cool. You can find lots and lots of parts all over the place for Steve Scout. And some of the parts actually you would find, similar to G.I. Joe, at the time you'd find them in other sets. These sets were actually made also into Fergus OK Mike, who shared the same body, same Scout salute, even though he was a Boy Scout. He was basically their version of Action Jackson, and his head was kind of a 9-inch version of a $6 Million Man ripoff. They used the same layout, just OK Mike, and I did those in another video. You guys can check those out. But they had some really cool sets going on. This one, I don't have too many of them boxed. I have a bunch of them loose, and some of them still collecting parts in the closet. So this is Warning from Thunderhead Station, a meteorological high adventure set. You'd put together this little tree with a platform and a little antenna, little wind meter, a little crank radio and signals and so on. They're very, very cool. Once they kind of got through with doing all the basic sets, they had canoes, and they had, there's actually a Jeep with a trailer on it, and they started going through all those really cool sets that were basically what a Boy Scout really could do. They started getting into things like this. Steve Scout, Balloons Race to Devil's Canyon. Okay, there's no scouting badge that I've ever known of, and I was a Boy Scout back in the day, for ballooning, okay, or hot air ballooning. They were actually pretty cool. These sets, the colors are not true to what they look like. Well, these look more red, I think, and actually it's brown inside. I have some loose ones, but the idea behind this is you would inflate. Yes, this is inflatable. You'd put a net on it. You'd hang it over the door with this mechanism here, and then you have a string, and you could pull on it and make the balloon go up and down. So I guess he's basically in a hot air balloon. Every one of these came with a comic book. And you can also tell this is a later set because they're advertising Steve Scout, Bob Scout, Craig Scout, and Dave Scout in the window boxes. Originally, these two originally came in these closed boxes if you take a look. And then they moved to the Windows boxes, which are not easy to find, I could tell you that. All right. There's a lot of Steve Scout figures out there. I'm actually surprised how many of these are floating around. I wouldn't have thought that these would have been a big seller back in the day. But to be honest with you, and in all fairness, scouting was a lot different than it is today. Boy Scouts were actually Boy Scouts. I don't want to get any politics of any of that bullshit. But to make a long story short, yeah, Boy Scouts were Boy Scouts. The idea behind Boy Scouts, for those of you who don't know, goes way back to the early 1900s. I think it was I think even before 1920 or maybe somewhere around there, somewhere like 1918 or something, somewhere around there, I forget. But it was actually started in Great Britain, or in the UK, or Great Britain. And the idea was to raise youth into being moral, civil, and successful individuals that helped others. Today, it's just like, oh, we're not included, so shove us in there, which is just ridiculous. But there you go. Anyway, so if we take a look, this is one of the later sets, Steve Scout Escape Glide from Eagle Mountain, a hang glider high adventure set. It's a giant hang glider. I'm going to show this to you. I've shown this before, and I'm going to show this to you guys again, what this is and what it looks like when you take it out. Giant 35-inch wingspan. It's essentially a kite with a plastic seat for him to sit in, and you could fly this thing if you want. It's a kite. It's just a regular plastic kite, if you will. And, I mean, these kids are, I mean, this is a little ridiculous. These kids must be like 10 inches tall, but the idea here was that you could go ahead and fly him around. Now, he's just going to fall out of that seat because there's nothing holding him in. And when it lands, it's going to probably crack the plastic that has it. But here you go. Again, advertising. Free special Steve Scout items for saving adventure stars. See details inside. So this, surprisingly, this is only 4 stars. I thought this would have been more. Again, these are not easy to get. I have one where the person actually cut this out of the box. The box is beat to shit. And they cut these out. All right, and there we go. All right, so now that we got into some of the regular Steve Scout stuff, and I'm going to open one of these to show you guys, when you got Steve Scout, every Steve Scout figure or toy came with a comic. The Steve Scout, Bob Scout, Craig Scout, and Dave Scout came with basically a comic book about scouting. It talked about scouting, it talked about the benefits of scouting, why scouting is great. It was all illustrated, and it went on, and it was actually cool. It tells you a little about your Boy Scout, what the Scout Salute is. It really was a very cool thing. What is scouting and how you can earn badges and all this stuff. But when you start to get to the end, okay, they'd even have a little adventure there. The Boy Scout one itself, comic showed some of the adventure sets you can get, some of the little carded sets and so on. The other sets themselves, they came with a comic book that was that pertained to the actual adventure we were doing. 222 Days Junior. Listen to this mother effer. Listen, you friggin', you pizza-eating, tasty cake, sucking the cream out the middle of the cupcake, motherfucker. We're getting through this. All right, so earn free high adventure scout gifts. So basically, if you take a look at this, there were 3 things you could mail away for. There was this high adventure weather shelter. There was Bill Scout. We'll go into him for a second. So the high adventure weather shelter was 15 stars. Bill Scout was 25 stars. And the high adventure observation post was 20 stars. So if you cut those stars out that I showed you on the bottom and you filled them in and put this in and mailed it in, they would mail you something. So I showed these before. I'm going to show them again. I finally was able to get one of each. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think I was going to be able to get any. A couple of weeks ago, I came across a loose Bill Scout and I lost it to an auction, but I was able to come up with some other stuff. The high adventure weather shelter, I never have even seen a picture of it other than the illustration inside this comic book, which I thought was quite rare because there's quite a lot of people out there. So I couldn't even tell what color it is. I said, oh, it must be white, whatever. But I'm going to show you what these look like today. This is an unopened, this was the mail-away version of the high adventure observation post. You can see it here. It's use a typewriter, do it. A little illustration. These are all the pieces. And you'd put it together to look like this. Again, this was a mail away. You could not buy this. You could not buy this. Let me repeat that. You had to buy the sets. You need to cut the stars off. Enough of these. This was 20 stars. If you figure each figure came with 4, and most of the sets came with 4, you had to get at least 4 or 5 things most likely to get this. This is an unopened version. It would come in the mail in a brown mailer box like this to you. Very, very cool. On to the next one. The next one, which again I thought I would never get, was the High Adventure Weather Shelter. Now, this is opened, and I've shown this on another video. You can go look on MyMegoLike YouTube channel. You can check it out, but he include all the instructions and everything. Again, this would just be in a plastic bag like you saw there. But what's cool, it's this silver tent. It's got these silver poles. It shows you how to bend the poles to make it work. It's even got the Boy Scout logo on the tent. It is a just basically plastic tent, but it's really cool. Very, very cool. Again, I wasn't even sure they made this or if they did any existed because I haven't been able to see one, not even in a picture. But today's big news, I was able to secure this after losing a loose Bill Scout. Okay, I was able to come up with this. This is the actual mail order box that somebody sent 25 stars in. This is what Kenner returned. Kenner products, you can see they got Play-Doh on there. You see it's Kenner. It's fun with that chicken. It shows where it comes from, a division of General Mills Fun Group, and that was in 9112 Sycamore Street, Cincinnati, Ohio. Take a look. This went to Mr. Thomas Charlie, what's his name? Charlier, 639 Schwartz, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54302. Again, pretty cool, typewritten. How much do you think this cost to mail this box? 24 cents. Ridiculous, 24 cents. You know how much it costs to mail a box like this today? Don't even get me started. But as you can see, the box, it came with this Packer tape, or this, this thread, what you call this? I forget what you call it, like fiber version. But this is what it looked like. This is the original owner sent this to me. I bought it from him, the original owner. At least he said he was, or at least I think he said he was. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is the actual Bill Scout. Again, he was mail order only. You could not buy him in any store. You had to send away, and you had to get enough stars. Now, before you go, hey, that's Steve Scout, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a difference. It is a Steve Scout head. He's considered blonde, even though that's not quite that blonde, is it? But I'm going to show you the Steve Scout. He has a summer Scout uniform. This is an actual accurate Boy Scout summer uniform for its day. See, it's got the Scout logo. This happens to be a sticker, so we're going to be careful. Even the belts on these have the Boy Scout fleur-de-lis on them, shorts and shoes. Okay. He also does the salute. If you're asking, I'm not going to pull anything out because this is the way he came. The guy said he never did anything with it. He left it exactly as it was. But if you move this arm, you can see the right arm. See, I'm not going to even do it because I don't even trying to risk that this thing might break. But you see that the right arm starts to move. So the idea is you would put his arm here, you would raise the arm, and he would do the Scout salute against his forehead like he's saluting. Okay, now, just so we can show it, somebody's going to go, that's Steve Scout. That's Steve Scout. That's not the real deal. It actually is the real deal. So we're going to bring him apart. We're going to give you an idea. Okay. These are your figures. Yes, he's actually a different color, believe it or not. And normally, they've always looked a little bit more, actually, the ones I normally saw a little bit more, they looked a little more blonde. But yes, there you have it. There you have it. There he is. So this was the mail away. Very, very cool. Original box, original figure from the owner himself. The guy was a huge Scout collector. He said he was getting old, and it was time for him to start selling off his collection. He was selling everything. Everything that was Boy Scout. Merit badges, I mean, you name it. And this is actually, you can see the Steve Scout figure. You can actually see he's pretty accurate on that. But yes, that is the Bill Scout figure, slightly different color and so on, more blonde, if you will, and so on. But yep, and there you have it. So there you have your lesson for today for Boy Scout stuff. And the one thing that I do love about this Bill Scout figure that I just got is his joints are very, very stiff. Like he hasn't even been, I don't think he knows he's even been really touched in any way whatsoever because his joints are wickedly strong. Like there hasn't been any play with him or anything like that. I know, Sanchez, that's what she said. I hear you. And yeah, there he is. So there you have it. You have a nice Bill Scout figure, mail order. Off we go. Very excited. Now I'm finally able to get all three of these mail order products together. And that's the only 3 that they made. I've seen one of these loose. It was up on eBay, out of the package. I've never seen the weather shelter or so on. But there you have it. That's what she said. I was waiting for that. Damn it, that's my line, Brian Sanchez. All right, so I'm going to have to step out. I don't have any cool music to play for you. I could play the Sanchez song if you want. And there it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a very good evening. Peace.